Running fans, jumping fans, throwing fans, all around athletics fans. Welcome to Talking in Ovals. How is everybody doing out there on this Monday, March 23rd, 2026 for episode number 183? Hyatt, why does it still feel like winter today? Why did it snow for a little bit up here in Poughkeepsie? What is going on, Dave?
Listen, winter track just officially ended yesterday, so I guess it is still winter. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think the winter season is way too long, or do you think it's perfect?
I mean, apparently it needs to be longer because it's so
I know that's what I'm
apparently we
saying.
need another
Like
six. You
I
know
know
what they
it's
should
crazy.
do? They should have Groundhog Day specific meets. Like if the groundhog sees his shadow or whatever it is, they put 4 extra meets at the end of the calendar for indoor. But if it doesn't, then we don't have nationals. Like it's two extremes. Either nationals gets cut, they lose all that revenue, or they just do like groundhog meets for the rest like 4 other weeks.
It has been cold. We have been grinding every day out there practice, but listen, got to get it in.
Got to get it in. And that J, the flying J over there. You guys should call yourself the flying J's.
We should.
I think you should make some shirts and just piss off your AD. But no. But anyway, everyone, thank you for watching wherever you're watching from. Whether it's YouTube X, Facebook, over there at Kick or Twitch, we appreciate it all. Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, follow, do all of that good jazz. And if you want to follow us on social medias, go to @TalkingInOvals and you will see us there. So last week, we had people that decided to answer the bat signal that we threw out there, and we're freaking happy they did because it was a great show.
Great show.
Coach Brian Gould and former coach Kurt weigh in over there for the West Windsor Plainsboro crew, both South and North. I mean, what a fun show, just picking the brain of
knowledge was just impact. I mean, they have both coached some incredibly talented kids and got them to incredibly high levels. And it was just cool just to hear like the way that they think and the way that they team build. It was a really good show. I suggest any coach goes back and just gives it a listen.
And some of the younger viewers might not get this, but all I was hearing sometimes was the intro to The Odd Couple.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? But
opposite dudes, but they're awesome. They work so well.
And I think my favorite part is that they are at like in the same town at rival high schools, yet they have forged such a respect and such a friendship. Obviously, they both wanted to beat the other person, but you could tell that there's so much respect from both sides there, and it's just great to see. Like we don't like just because we compete doesn't mean that we have to, that we can't appreciate what the other person's doing.
And I think that we may have either found a substitute or permanent third co-host if Coach Wayton ever wants to come on, because he was awesome. Like that would be fun if we ever need. I'm pretty sure if we ever need a spot one, it's like I'm sick, you're not feeling well. If he liked it, he passed my interview. I'm just saying, I thought it was fantastic. He knows more than I ever will. You're an encyclopedia, so I don't know if there's many people that know more about New Jersey track and field than you do.
I'm sure.
It's maybe we've had most of them on the show, right? Like Jim and stuff like that. Like those are your rivals.
I mean, listen, you'll never beat the late great Ed Grant, but I mean,
he's forgotten more track and field than most of us know. But
the best.
Our guest today is someone that probably has a ridiculous amount of New Jersey and overall track and field knowledge. We are happy to welcome back Coach Joe Compagni. I don't know the introduction we should give you because you are such a jack of all trades. Yes. If you have ever ran in New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, this name has probably come up. Coach, how are you?
Great. Nice to be on with you guys again. I feel special that I get to come back a second time.
You are special.
Many more. Like this isn't the last one, Coach. It's our privilege to have you on. It's always good. So it's always fun to have you on. I said before, and you denied it last time, but I really feel like you are busier now than you were as a head coach over at Monmouth University, because you were always moving and shaking. But I feel like, this is the first time you've maybe seen your house in like 6 months. It's like, so you are constantly busy and you're just a gift to the running community. It's just fantastic to have you on. So we don't have any PRs this week. Our Red Arrow track friends, they were done at Nationals last week. Yep. And we still don't have coaches sending us PRs, but I do have one.
There's not going to be any.
Oh, go ahead, Dave.
I said we wouldn't have any this week. I wouldn't think
unless they ran at Adidas, right? Unless we had someone that ran over at Adidas, because that happened this week. But I have one minor bone to pick with you, Coach, and it really has nothing to do with you. But it's one of your former athletes. So I was sitting there on our Talking and Oldies Instagram, and I get, because the algorithm is so good, I just get inundated with all track and field, cross country running stuff. And I noticed there was one that popped up with one of your former athletes, Allie Wilson, was on there, and all of a sudden it cues to one of our former guests in Megan Hunter, and I'm like, there's something wrong here. Why hasn't Allie yet? If you watch this, David, come on the show.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I know she's out west for a while, but she would be a great guest if you get her.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh my God. Yeah, we need to. So I saw that and I was like, you know what? Since we're having Coach Joe on that, Matt, like I looked at it, I was actually like, we've had Megan on, and congrats to Megan's success too. She's been running so freaking good as of late.
Wonderfully, yes.
Just pumped for her. And that's one of the American 800-meter greats in Allie. And I'm not even saying a torch passing, because Allie's not done, but at least inviting another future 800-meter great for a long time in Megan. So I just, little ribbing right there, but it was just cool to see those two coming on. But Allie is someone that we have been trying to get, and we're not going to stop, because she's short conference, our short area that we love to be so proud of, greatness.
Sure.
So we need to have that coming on here, because we just hoard all of those individuals. But
hey,
it's
Alex.
funny because Pennsylvania claims her, but we always like to claim her as New Jersey. We're like, hey, wait, she went to school in New Jersey, and she lives in New Jersey most of the year. So
yeah, I mean, Pennsylvania can have her for part of her life, I guess, but we have her for like her greatness, and we steal her for pros, damn it, because she reps Monmouth. When she's repping her college, it's Monmouth. It's no one in Pennsylvania.
That's right. That's right.
So Alex, did you happen to see the results of the shot put at the World Championships?
I did. And God, it has been a long time coming for Jordan Geist to come in and finish second over there.
One of our past guests.
One of our past guests that we are proud to call as a past guest, and someone who has been knocking on that door, right? For the past few years, of past few world events, he's been getting into these final flights and
even U.S. meets, like he would finish fourth, at the U.S. Nationals or there. And then, but also trying to do the shot put and the hammer same time is not easy. And to be successful in a that's not hard. I mean, that's not easy. That's very hard to try to focus. It's two completely different spins. I mean, but getting second over at Worlds, leading through 5 throws was just awesome.
Yeah. So big shout out to Jordan Geist. We love having our former guests do well. Makes us feel warm.
You had a Jersey guy in there too.
Yes. Who do we have?
The Shore AC guy.
Josh Awatunde, from Shore AC.
Nice.
He's from Delsea, South Jersey guy. And we're excited because he's been at that level for a few years now. He would be a great guest also. He's a great guy to talk to. He's initially,
I mean, I think we're speaking to someone who has some power at Shore AC. but that's awesome. And it's so funny too, because like I remember just growing up seeing the Shore AC singlets everywhere, right? And things like that. Anytime you went to a 5K, but it's like being a little ignorant to just how well known that singlet is just around the country at a bunch of events, because Shore AC is massive, and it's a testament to what all the individuals before you and things like that like have just worked their tails off to make that a awesome place to be for all levels. Like it's not just elite level athletes, it is all levels. It's one of the best clubs that I've ever seen in the running community, and it's not an exclusive club. I think that's the best way to look at it. It's a very it doesn't matter if you just want to go for a few jogs, if you're
youth
not
as well,
or youth, or if you want to go and compete at that world level. Like we got a little bit of everything. So awesome over there. You guys do. We'll talk more about Shore AC a little bit later, but I want to jump into more of Worlds, because we'll talk about Cooper Lukenhouse in a second.
Unbelievable.
I want to really talk first. So I think another big news, and it kept popping up, the women's British side. We saw Keely Hodgkinson run away in the 800. We saw Georgia Bell. I think that's what she has a hyphenated name, right? Hunter Bell. There you go. Georgia Hunter Bell win the 15, and we had Cauley winning the pole vault. What got into the Brit ladies this meet? Like it was, incredible.
They've been doing that for a while, but to me, the most impressive was Hodgkinson coming back and running the fastest split of the whole 4x4. In less than an hour later, she split 50.10. Like she's fit. She's
fastest split in the whole entire meet.
Yep. Less than an hour after running 1:55 to win the 800.
And this to me, Coach, I don't know about you, it harkens back to the time
That's
where
crazy.
there was a time where the Brits kind of ran middle distance for a little bit, men and women's side. Are we seeing that a little more with Keely and things like that coming
Josh
on?
Kerr.
Yeah, Josh Kerr with kind of putting their stamp back on, saying like, no, this was ours. We're taking this back.
Yeah. No, it's fun to see because they have been so good, but in the shadows a little bit, and certainly not in the shadows anymore. And it was funny this summer being at Athlos, and a lot of the stars were coming in. They had kind of a runway thing, and a lot of the young fans who were there didn't recognize Keely. Keely was kind of walked right by us, and we said hi real quick. But everyone else was getting all this attention, and I think, obviously the U.S. stars got a little more attention than she did. But I'm like, that's one of the best people in the world at her sport, and she just wandered by here, and most of the people who were there as fans didn't even notice it was her. So
it kind of makes me. It makes me a little sad that we saw Keely and a Thing have a battle when a Thing Mo was there and Keely was really coming on, and they were both phenoms at the same time. And I really hope a Thing can get healthy and can really start to come back.
Or motivated
as well, because she has other things going on in her life. And listen, I get it. If you can go make more money doing other things, she already achieved so much in this sport at a young age.
Sure.
But it's just, I would have loved to have seen that rivalry to grow because a Thing was on the rise, and just seeing what she could have done, because
ran a 154.
Keely realistically can go and get that outdoor record. She already claimed the indoor one, but man, wouldn't it have been fun to just see her and a Thing both break it? And a Thing still could. She's young. It's not like a Thing Mo is old. She's made some changes in her coaching. I really hope she comes back this, outdoor season and kicks the doors in. Like if I see her go 157, 156, like we're back, right? Like she has that motivation. She has that talent to be there, but it's just like a what if. Like they were both on the rise together, battling who was going to win that race, and then injuries and things like that held the Thing back. But then Keely's just been on a freaking astronomical pace.
Listen, Donovan and Brazier did it. He came back after a long layoff and still ran a 142 U.S. national champ. So I mean, anything's possible, especially like you said. Thing is young. She's got to be what, 23, 24? Like
I'll look it up real quick.
She's not old,
Yeah.
But I mean British women
do it if she wants to.
British women had a phenomenal meet. Good to say. Now here's a question. Why do you think a lot of the US talent didn't go? I was expecting a much larger turnout, considering that there are no worlds, there are no Olympics this year. Like, why do you think more Americans, even the ones who qualified at U.S. Nationals, some of them didn't go? Like, do you think that there's any reason for that, Joe? Or
yeah, I think it's a combination of things. I think that sometimes the location is not as attractive. It shouldn't be like that, but I think some people are sort of like, I don't want to go there. And I guess if you're a pro in our sport, you have that option. If you're an NFL player, you don't really have that choice. You play where your game is. And I think it's one of those years where people are doing, because there isn't it's not an Olympic year, it's not a world championship year, they're doing different things. I would think maybe that would make more of them want to go to Worlds indoors because there isn't that opportunity outdoors. But it turned out that there were less of our stars who wanted to be there. So hopefully that means that things will be exciting outdoors, but it was a little surprising.
Yeah, go ahead. But I mean, I will say that some of them didn't go, but there were probably still more of our top people there than we have usually at the World Indoors. Usually we have no one there for whatever reason,
Well, Hobbs Kessler famously called it out a few years ago.
He did. He said, hey, how come no one goes? But I also was thinking, without any big meets at the end of summer, but I also think that we're going to have a big summer and just everyone just going for world records, because you're not really trying to peak for anything. You're just trying to run as fast as you.
So I think there needs to be some penalty there. I think that because you're now potentially taking the spot of another athlete that maybe had a qualifying time, distance jump. And it doesn't seem like we have a good substitute or fill-in system for people that just don't go. So I think that if you compete at nationals and there is a world's event and you don't go, it needs to be something like extreme, like, hey, you can't do outdoor nats. Like, we're not going to allow you to just potentially take that spot. Like, I feel like it's something that if you're going to, like, obviously everyone knows that this nationals this year was to qualify for worlds. That's the big thing. Those Nats set those up. There needs to be more of pressure, right? Because it's not like you said, Dave, Noah Lyles was there. Like Noah went and he competed and Cole competed. But it's like, there is no repercussions for track athletes being flaky. And I dislike that a lot. I think there needs to be some repercussions where, if it's like, the Grand Prix a few years ago, right? Like, if you're not there, okay, you're not invited next year. I don't care what you do, period. Like, and I know that might hurt them if it's like Sid, but it's like, okay, you don't come. Like, there needs to be some accountability for track athletes. It's always bothered me.
I don't know how. Zero. I have no idea how you would ever put that into play.
It's hard.
Yeah, because it's hard. If you're Ocean Breeze and you're hosting, U.S. indoors, you want those stars there, regardless of what 100%. They're doing afterwards. You're trying to sell tickets, trying to get people there. So you're like, we don't care if you're going on or not. We want to come here because if you're here, people are going to buy tickets and they're going to turn on their TV and they're going to watch. So,
agreed.
So well, that's hard, but it is true. It's so different.
Unless you do it like the USATF does and put it on their own personal USATF TV that barely anyone subscribes to for like half the meet. Like we won't even get started on that. Dave, I know you commented on that in the group and things a few times, but we won't get on USATF. We'll maybe save that for another show. But I want to get to a few comments here. Coach Torchia, as always, hanging in there saying Allie Wilson would be a great guest, or the other short conference 800 meter great. Ajay Wilson, both individuals that we would love to have on. I love that. And Darren coming in saying, agree with Coach Torchia. Please reach out to Ray Flynn, who is our agent. I would love to. I need to figure out how to get in contact. Darren, if you have Ray's contact info, shoot it our way. We would love to do. I will reach out because I know Ray Flynn represents a lot of the top tier track and field talent in the country as well. So we would love to have Ray on. We'd love to have an agent on to come and talk about those kind of ins and outs of dealing with shoe contracts and dealing with track and field athletes and how different it is being a track and field agent as opposed to one of like the 5 major sports and how he needs to finagle things in order to get these athletes paid as much as possible.
Also,
that's his goal.
Want to know, like, do you go in asking for more money based on the event? Like, does a 100 meters star ask for more money than someone running the 10,000 meters? I would imagine so, but I would just be curious. Short
answer, yes.
That would have been what I thought, yes.
I want to shift over to what I think is the story for us, right? Because obviously we're all distance guys here, and we were very interested to see what Cooper Lugenhouse was going to do. Ooh. I think we knew he was going to run well. He's a gamer. I don't think that we all thought that he was going to go and lead the race, dominate the race, respond to everything, and run a 144 on the way, which, mind you, before a few years ago was the world class, like one of the world class times. Like now we're so spoiled with 142s with everything, but it's like he ran a grown man race at 17. So
he's Coach, a junior in high school.
I'm going to go with you, Coach. Where do you put his accomplishment, not just in the track and field world, but in the pantheon of sports, what Cooper Lugenhouse was able to do there?
Yeah, well, it was interesting because I heard from one of my high school buddies who is not a track person, who actually was like, who is this young guy that won this world championship? I'm like, wow, good. I'm glad somebody's paying attention outside of our sport, because it's just us, track nerds that are watching this stuff.
Yep.
So it's pretty amazing. I mean, you even think about Sydney, as amazing she was when she went to the Olympics as a 16-year-old, she'd be the first one to tell you she looked like a 16-year-old. And Cooper didn't have that same, kind of nerves or whatever it was. He just executed so well.
He did, but we do forget that last year when he went to the Olympics, he didn't get out of the first round.
Right. So that's probably his equivalent to what Sydney did her first time there. Yeah. Sure. First time there has just got to be so overwhelming, whether you're, even if you're 20 or 25.
Yeah.
Especially
if you're 16 or 17.
Right. And like, I mean,
Yeah.
last year I kind of gave him a pass because like it was in August. He was a high school kid. Like how long he just ran a 142 at the U.S. Nationals. Like how long can you actually run? But I mean, yeah, it's
right.
I was trying to think today of a better feat in the history of sports from a high school athlete, and I couldn't think of one. I mean, Alex brought up maybe a
Katie Ledecky
in
is
like
up there.
swimming or
15
something like
years
that.
old, winning a world swimming, and not just winning it. Katie Ledecky, I think, has reset her own record. It's Mondo
Correct.
Duplantis level. I think she's done it like 18 times in her career and started at 15. I think she got the world record maybe the following year at 16.
But it's not uncommon in swimming for a teenager, especially on, you know, on the female side, to dominate. Like this is a 17-year-old boy, like beating, you know, everybody.
The only equivalent I would have, and I know people may say LeBron, it's not LeBron or Kobe, okay? It's not either of them, and they're great. But, and I know he's not in high school, but I was talking to you earlier, and I'll expand on this with you, Dave. Tiger Woods winning a major at 21. Because here's the main reason. I know he was 21. I know he wasn't in high school. But there's something to be said about playing, what is it? What do they play? 50-something holes? It's 18 by 3? No, 72. They play 72 holes. And to keep your nerve, how many individuals, like I like golf, I watch it. You see guys going into Sunday looking great. Sunday, they fall apart. And that's the thing that people don't get about golf. They walk 18 holes, which is miles. They have to keep their composure, mental. Like, it is a physical and mental grind. So Tiger being able to do that at 21, when there were still true greats playing at the time when he did it as well. Sure. I think that might be the only sports equivalent because he won one of the pinnacles of his event, his like sport in a similar manner.
Which is why I give Cooper tons of credit because he didn't do this in some one-off race. Like he had to run rounds. So that like he had to qualify. He had to put himself.
And he came in as a top qualifier too.
And
in the race.
Could you like you would think like any high school kid would just be hoping to like make the final and to hang on. At the with 300 meters to go, 500 meters in, he took the lead and said, "Come and get me!" Like, come and get me! Like that kid is 17. Like I coach kids that age. It's unbelievable to me. It's like that you would have that poise, and the fact that he's still training with his high school coach. Like I'm sure all these shoe companies are trying to swoop in and get him, but he's staying to lend. Why not? It's working. So, he ran a 142.
Here's the real question. So, Coach Joe. Cooper or Sam Ruth in a 1K, who wins?
I want to see that race. I don't know who it is. Right now, I'd say Cooper, but I don't know. And
how about Cam Myers too? He's only 19.
Cam Myers.
Yeah. You think of, I mean, what the young boys and girls are doing now is simply incredible. And you know, there were the one-offs back in the day. You can talk about Jim Ryan, like before my time too. But
even Alan Webb, like he ran a 353. It was like, what is going on?
You look at Drew Hunter, who's really coming into his own as an adult, but Drew Hunter coming out of high school was an absolute phenom as well.
Yeah. I mean, if you got to think about it, now there's probably maybe 10 kids who break 4 in high school every year. Like we just had some at the indoor meet. You know, it's like when I was young, like you had Alan Webb when he ran 359 at the Millers games, like a high school kid just broke 4 minutes in the indoor mile. It was unfathomable.
Why didn't Cooper Lukenhouse run at New Balance Nationals or Nike or Adidas? Could you imagine him showing up to one of those?
I would say like if I was his coach and he was still running high school meet, I'd say you're only running the 1600 or the 32. Like you're not running at anything 8 or lower because there's no one.
Go make him do a pentathlon. Challenge him, but
like he would beat a lot of high schools 4x2 teams. Like by himself.
It's true on his own. He would beat a lot of 4x2s on his own.
I mean, not like the good teams, but he would beat a lot of teams 4 by 2 teams by himself.
That that is. I didn't even think
that'd be fun
to
watch. Fun to watch if you find a 4x2 that's running about that kind of time. So,
So here's the question though: is Cooper going to be able to hold this in outdoor, because when the bigger names start to flood back in, right? When
Yeah.
we start to get, some of the, like, Bryce is running
Howie,
healthy,
Hopper.
Donovan, Howie, and then even some of the international guys
Sure.
that came in. These guys that all ran, 4 gentlemen ran 141 2 years ago. I think we need to remember this. 4 people ran 141, and the 4th one was a friggin' American who holds the record, who was still young and healthy and hungry. So in Bryce Hoppel. So
do I think he's at that level yet? No. But
he ran 142, so why not? Like,
yeah, true. I, you know what? I am done trying to think about what these kids can do, because they're just ridiculous. They are rewriting everything.
Yeah.
So where do you think he's going to be, Coach?
It's exciting.
When the bigger dogs come in, do you think all this world experience is going to help him coming this outdoor season?
Absolutely. I think that, just having that experience and not just going, we talked about first Olympic experience for him and for Sydney is going to be bumpy when you're 16. It's incredibly hard. Quincy, same thing. But then when you have that experience and you have some success, you just go into these races feeling like you're in control a little bit more. Not that he's going to win everything all the time, but I just think now he's going to be there. I think last year when he did what he did at the trials, he shocked even himself. Well, he's not going to be surprised anymore. He's kind of expecting that he's going to be right at the front of those races now.
I mean, listen, could USA have planned this any better to have their Olympics here in 2028 and have like Cooper and Quincy and just have track and field be? I mean, this is probably the best that we've ever had as a complete team, like sprints, jumps, hurdlers, distance now on all sides. Like this USC team is rolling, and we're going to be right here in 2028 in the US.
I'm excited to see Natalie Dumas triple in 2028 at the Olympics. She's going to go for an Olympic triple, because that girl too is another one that I think by 2028 she's going to make the United States team in at least one event.
She could. She's so tough, so phenomenal. Tough, and so able to come back and do it more than once.
She won the national championship this weekend at Adidas. I almost forgot that there was a third meet this weekend, but she won the 8 and anchored the winning relay team. So
which was a ridiculous anchor. Yeah. When she came from like 50 meters back, and walked down. Those ladies are fast, and she walked her down and then just crossed the line. And the thing that's crazy is when she won the 800, she didn't look tired. She ran a 2:06, and she was like, "It's another day at the park." It's like, Jesus Christmas! Like, when is a 2:06 slow in high school? Like, oh my God. So, Coach, if you are coaching Quincy Wilson right now, right? Because obviously before Cooper burst onto the scene, because he was the nice high school story at the trials, and then boom, here he is, Olympian, now world champion, right? If you're coaching Quincy Wilson, I know he was the phenom right before Cooper. He had about a year of himself being that high school guy. He's next. I mean, he's an unbelievable talent himself. How are you coaching him? Because do you think he's putting any extra pressure on himself to go, I have to go now and try and win worlds. Like, I need to at least get nationals, and I need to do this now because NIL is a big deal. And, getting into that USA singlet's a big deal. Right. What are you saying if you're Andrew Valman, his high school coach, all the individuals still involved with him, to try and keep him grounded to get to the level I think we all believe he can be?
Yeah. It's been fun for me to see him still run in high school meets, high school nationals, and these other high school meets, because any meet that he's at, the volume goes up and the electricity level is much higher, just because he's there, and so I think it's kind of fun that he is running in high school meets, and hasn't left that to say, well, I'm just going to go be a pro, because he's still a young guy. He's got teammates. He's got a great group around him. He's got a great coach in Joe. So just to still be in that environment, I think is good for the sport, good for the high school scene. Sure. And it's kind of fun that he's going to stay close to home and go to Maryland. So no one expected that. It's a huge get for Andrew Valman. I'm excited for him, and it'll be fun to see what he does there.
I also think, it's hard to compare like what they've done. Like, there's so much talent in our country in the 400s. Like, there's a chance that Quincy could lose in a high school meet. Like, Cooper running it in a high school meet would be, I mean, it wouldn't even be race. So it's just hard to compare just based on the events that they run in the amount. I mean, we have great competition in the 800, but I mean, the US in the 400 is like, it's mind boggling.
And I was
like,
going to say that
there were 4 guys running on, you know, like 4 guys ran the world championships who probably won't even be close to our team in outdoor, you know, and they just won the worlds, you know? So it's like, I mean, we're so stacked there that
most people haven't heard of. Yeah.
Right. But so I think it's harder for Quincy to make that mark because it's such a competitive, sprints are just so competitive, especially the 400. I mean, like, again, we could take our 20th best guys and be competing for a world championship every single time, 4x4. You know?
Yeah.
So if he does,
don't tell Botswana that.
Oh, I know. Listen, man. But speaking of which, like,
I don't want to. Yeah.
The whole 4x4, that the fact that we're not going, that's free.
No, here's the thing. No, I don't want to hear. Number one, Let's Tobago needs to be quiet, okay? Because wasn't he the guy that was like, I don't like Noah because he talks too much, and here he is running his mouth, which I'm actually a fan of. But don't be a hypocrite and be like, I don't like him because he talks. And honestly, what has Let's Tobago done since that Olympics? Let's be quite honest. He's been beaten by Noah every single time he's raced him.
But they still won the gold medal over us. They outkicked Benjamin. You know,
listen. I don't care. You got one, okay? You got one on us.
We have to go and defend it. Like, you have to just not go.
It's the world indoor relays. No, we don't.
No, it's the outdoor relays.
Even then, no,
you just can't not go.
Of course we can. We know we're going to win.
But
when they're fresh, of course we're going to win. We'll send our B team and beat Botswana in that.
Get out of here, man.
We will send Quincy and Bullis and they'll beat Botswana, okay?
They had like 3 guys in the final of the Olympics last year. They are loaded.
It was a weak Olympics.
Get out of here.
But no, so here's another question pertaining to Quincy, though. Because what you said, Dave, is true, how stacked we are, right? Where our 8th place guy is winning most nationals around the world, right?
Sure.
So if Quincy comes out and in outdoor this year, runs nationals and runs a 43 and change, right? Because typically that's our winning times, 44 low, 43 and change, that gets a win. Are we going to have a conversation between him and Cooper then? Because I feel like winning our nationals is incredibly high, because then you're set up to win the world, right? You win American nationals, you're set up to potentially win worlds at that point.
I'd be more shocked if Quincy won our nationals than I was by Cooper winning the world championships. I don't think, because I mean, first of all, I think he's run too many races too far into the indoor season. Like, he's going to have to take off a chunk. But I mean, it's I don't see him running 43 point this year in high school. But I mean, he can get better. He's not even like at like man strength yet. Like, he's still a kid, you know. Like, I think he has the ability as he ages, but I don't think this year it's just so much harder in that 4 running against the competition than it is. Like, you can get by in the 800. You don't need.
Well, I'm just asking,
pure muscular speed.
Would we then put him in the conversation, even though Cooper won worlds indoor? If Quincy wins outdoor nationals, are we then saying they're similar phenom levels, considering, like you said, the world caliber of our nationals?
Yes, I would. I mean,
yeah. What about you, Coach Joe?
I don't know. That's a hard one.
It is.
I think that. I think you're right. He's running so much more. He's doing a full high school season, which Cooper's not doing. So just changes what you're trying to do and how far you can go. Though, and when you listen to the broadcast, like of USA's, they talk about that. Well, these college kids are going to be tired. Well, the last few years, the college kids haven't always been tired. They've been able to still put it together and make teams. So that story doesn't hold as much water as it did before. I think, and it's connected to everything else. Training is smarter. Coaches are picking their spots a little bit more. You're not just asking someone to run 4 events every week.
Right.
There's a little more science there that is letting people pick their spots and extend their season a little bit more.
So, Coach Joe, real quick, everyone runs so fast so often now, right? We see a lot more time trials. We see a lot of that. Is that helping some of these college kids when they do get to these worlds, where even some of the slower trials are really fast races in college, right? Like, you're getting to a different level where to get past that 800 trial, you have to run a 147, 146, right? Like you're running a NCAA championship time just right there. Is running fast so often helping these kids when they do get to those worlds and they get to those nationals where this isn't my PR. This isn't my first time running fast. Yeah, my legs might be tired, but my legs know what this feels like. I'm not going into finals with a PR legs. And if it is, it's a fraction compared to kids who were running 146, and that was a 2-second PR from 148. They were being strung along by grown men. Is there something to the fact that they're running so fast so often helping them at these bigger races sometimes?
I think that's we could talk about that for 2 hours. I think
we
that
certainly could.
there's such an emphasis on running fast, and you go to some college meets, some of the meets that I work at, and others, and they don't. To me, they don't always feel. They feel like time trials a little bit, where every race is kind of set up and every race is paced. And I get it, because like in indoor NCAAs, it's the hardest NCAA championship in any sport to make. It takes 16 people. So if I'm a coach of one of those programs and I'm trying to get someone there, am I going to set up a race to get somebody there? Of course I am. Of course you want to do that. You need to do that, or you're not going to get to the championship. But I think when that becomes what you're doing, and that's not just happening with the NCAA caliber type people, it's happening in Heat 2 and Heat 3 and Heat 4, then it's sort of like, well, are you learning how to race, or are you just learning how to run fast?
Because learning how to run fast. Way different.
Yeah, it's such a different game. And I think the good programs are picking their spots, and they're figuring out how to do both. They're saying, hey, we're going to get in this race, and we're working on tactics this week. And then the next week, maybe it's an opportunity to say, hey, this race is going to be paced. It's got in this thing. I want you to sit here. We're going to get in a line. You're going to go, and we're going to go get our time. To be successful in sport, you need both, without a doubt.
And I feel like more so nowadays, like you're seeing a lot of kids get that NCAA qualifying time super, super early in the season, and then kind of like training and like branching off. It's almost like they just want to hit it early and then really get into their actual training. Whereas like, and then you used to see like early season times used to be early season times. Now, you go to BU and you're just hitting something, really, really fast, like right off of XC. And then you just kind of take off your break and go. So that way you already have that time that's already locked in. So you can just focus on getting to not figuring out when you're going to do your whole training cycle to work up to the NCAAs.
Right. Yeah. That's become more and more of a thing every year in the last 10 years. Every year that kind of early season opportunity has grown, and those times have gotten faster at BU and some other places.
Which is crazy, because it was always kind of the old mentality was get done with XC, take about a week or so off, taper a little maybe, then early season rust buster, get ready to get yourself into championship season, right? Where now, like you guys said, we're trying to peak for the beginning of indoor. It's really weird because it goes so long. Like you're setting PRs at the beginning of indoor. It's a bizarre time to be in track, but this is a perfect transition to shift into the NCAA conversation. Now, before we get into the changes, going to talk about the quick elephant in the room when it comes to NCAA. We're going to go straight to the hot button topic that everyone talks about, Division III track, which, not knocking Division III track, but Seth Clevenger has made news in the track and field world. And I'm going to preface that, in the track and field world. So he's been under a bunch of controversy. Iowa State suspends him. He transfers over to Rowan. Rowan's been building a ridiculously good program. He kind of puts them over the top this year. He wins D3 Nationals this year. Rowan wins Nationals as a team. But the headline taking away from Rowan's accomplishment is the 5 other athletes that were on the podium with him walk off, go about 5 feet away, leave Seth on the podium alone, and go take their own picture. I have many an opinion about this. I'm not going to go too deep into it. First and foremost, Coach Joe, I know you're involved in a lot of consultation with conferences in the Northeast and things like that. you don't have to give a comment on this if you don't want to. I don't want to get you in any hot water at all. And we're Jersey guys too, so we're proud of what Rowan's done.
And of
Yeah.
Seth Clevenger, Adamfield kid.
And Seth. Yeah. So it's like, it's not like we're not beaming
Rowan for sure. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I don't want to get you in any hot water. So if you don't want to comment, that's fine. You can let the talking heads, especially me, who has like zero connection to track outside this sport right now. But Dave, I'm going to give you a chance to take the floor. Do you have any strong opinions about this? I'm going to air quote the protest, and that might piss people off, but air quote protest and what they did.
I understand why the athletes did it. Like they have worked just as hard as they have, and all of a sudden you have someone coming in from a D1 program and who has some controversy behind him. So I completely understand why he did it. I also understand, why Seth ran. He's like, hey, like he's been training hard as well. I don't know all of the actual facts. Does it look good? No. I mean, the fact that you have teammates on your old team coming forward and saying things, but until we know everything that's going on, I really don't have that much of a comment. I completely get why those athletes did it. I get why Seth ran. Maybe, you don't promote that he won. You just kind of let it kind of go under the radar that he won, but it is what it is. And until we find out more, I really don't know what to say,
So I'll give my 2 cents. I won't go on a diatribe. I did go on one before the show, but I'm not going to do it. All I'm going to say is, number one, I'm going to invite the 5 individuals on the show, and I'll tag them later and everything. Ada Mathai of Wisconsin Lacrosse, Theo Udelson-Nee of NYU. Go NYU. Happy NYU got a podium there. Anthony Clark of Johns Hopkins, Isaac Bourne of Loris, and Alex Jordan of Lynchburg. I want to invite them all on the show because I want to hear their perspective. And I want to hear what went into this decision, because my opinion was it doesn't matter. What they did has zero impact. We're talking about it in the track world. But what does it change? Seth Clevenger still won the race by 30 seconds. You guys went and took a picture. I haven't heard, maybe it hasn't made headlines. I haven't heard any of those 5 gentlemen talk about it, say anything about Seth in the public. I didn't hear them before the race. I haven't heard them after. So for me, if you want to make this protest, make it a protest. Do something that is going to be impactful outside of our small track and field community, because in the end, Seth is going to go and still win a ton of races unless the NCAA does something to them or Iowa State or to Rowan. This fell on deaf ears. We're going to talk about this for a month and it's going to go away. No national sports thing is going to raise any bells on this. This isn't going to change anything. Do we think all in the show think that the situation at Iowa State could have potentially been screwed up? Maybe, possibly. I'm not going to speak for Coach Joe. I know Dave and me think there might have been some stuff going on, but until it's proven, go beat him.
Yep.
Go beat him. And if you don't walk off and make a mini protest in a picture. Like, that doesn't do anything. Refuse to race him. That's my protest. Don't race him. Make him run a 5K on his own. You want to make national headlines? Go watch a dude run a 15-minute 5K. It's capable of 13:30 because he had no one to go with, and stand on that podium alone. And I get it. We talk about how hard these guys worked. They all work hard. But you want to make a statement, that's how you make it. You don't make it by walking off the podium and taking a picture. It's neither here nor there. But that's my opinion. And I would invite those 5 gentlemen, come on, and tell me why. Prove me wrong. And then I would encourage all 5 of them to train harder and kick his ass in outdoor. If that's really what it means, go beat him in outdoor. So that's my 2 cents on it. And we won't go much further, but I'm 100% going to extend the invite to Seth. I want Seth to also come on the show. And I don't know how much he can talk about or anything, but just talk about his career as well. And those 5 gentlemen, we'd love to hear about their track and field career, because those gentlemen ran from 14:03 to 14:11. They are no slouch runners. That is fast running.
Absolutely.
So that is blazing time. So I'm not taking anything away from any of those guys. They are fantastic, and I expect all of them to be sub 14 in outdoor because they're going to run fast. So, and a bunch of them are probably going to go to 10K and stuff like that. There's always a blend in that 5K level at an indoor. But that's my 2 cents. Some people may disagree or agree. It might be harsh, but come talk to me about it if that's the case. So we're going to move on. Outside of me getting myself in trouble, which I do often, we want to talk about the NCAA college athletics in total. We kind of were touching on it there with time trialing, but I want to get some info from you, coach, because you were a longtime coach over at Monmouth for the program. You are still coaching there at the club level. Um, you were very successful. You built an incredible program
Yep.
at Monmouth that they are continuing. You laid that foundation beautifully with your staff and everyone as well. But you're now working at it from a different perspective, right? You are involved in the conferences that are around our Northeast area, running meets, consulting, things like that. Specifically to you, things that you could touch on. What has changed in the collegiate landscape since you have been there?
Yeah, a lot. That's my short answer is a lot. So I leave Monmouth in 2019. COVID happens right after that, changes the world for all of us, and then we come
Yep.
back. And as we come back, things we didn't talk about. Well, we were talking about them, but nothing was happening about very much. NIL and the transfer portal just changed the landscape of college athletics in general. And I think who it's hardest for, we're all watching football and basketball, right? They're the things that are in our view the most. But that kind of trickles down and it influences everybody and everything else. So after COVID, before everything completely exploded, there's a group of guys that I worked with, and we wrote a book, and the book is the NIL Playbook, and it was about how to market yourself as a student athlete.
Yep.
And the book, I think, still is relevant a little bit, but parts of it honestly became a little bit irrelevant because NIL is not what it was intended to be for the athletes in major sports at major schools. It's really, yeah, and those coaches will tell you. They say very often, like athletes will say, and their agents will say, these college athletes have agents now.
Yep.
Basically, what am I going to get? And they're not saying, well, I'll do this commercial for you or I'll help you with your camp. They're just saying, basically, how much am I getting? So it's changed the discussion, and that's trickled down in
So
some
real
ways
quick,
to track.
coach, I want to ask you, coming
Yeah.
from a head coach perspective, when the NIL was really coming on, you had the football players that were battling, what was it, from Northeastern, that were battling to get their name, image, and likeness, and it kind of the NIL merged into that. As a head coach at, a really successful Jersey program, especially in the budding national level program, you guys were definitely regional powers at the time that you were there easily. Was it ever presented to you as a school you're going to basically offer a contract to a kid, because that's essentially what it's become, that schools are providing NILs, where
Right.
my understanding when it first came in was this kid's going to come and you're going to kind of want to sell the opportunities he's going to be able to go and get with his agent, right? Like, okay,
Right.
Monmouth here,
Right.
I'm connected
Right.
to whatever this, we're connected to this doctor's office, we're connected to this, these are our shoe providers, these are the connections that you can work with your agent, not
Right.
the school's going to guarantee. When it came to you,
Right.
was that the way it was presented, or did you know it was going to eventually become, I have to basically give a contract as a school to this kid?
Yeah, no, I think in the track and field world and for most sports and for most athletes, the majority of the athletes still, that's the only way you're going to get anything is to market yourself. And you can do that now. And honestly, I'm glad for student athletes that they can do that. For
Yeah.
instance, if you were a very good track athlete in the past and you said, I want to do a little camp of my own in the summer, you couldn't do that. You couldn't
Right.
say, I'm going to have the Dave Hyatt camp while you're, running at East Stroudsburg. You couldn't do that.
I would go to the Dave
So
Hyatt
I
camp.
was glad
Heck
for
yeah.
athletes that you could do that. Yeah. But as is very often the case, when there's an opportunity to do something more for student athletes, the schools, the Power Four schools, will do all that they can and more. So that's exactly what happened, and happened, so fast. People are like, "Oh, what happened?" I'm like, "Are you surprised that happened?"
Right.
If you see facilities at some schools, like, so now and along with facilities, now you're saying that you can give them some money. So I wasn't surprised it happened at the top level because you knew that the programs that have those resources are going to do everything that they can. And the example I use is, probably 15 or 20 years ago was when they first allowed unlimited meals. It used to be, if you were a full scholarship athlete, you could get a meal plan, but that's all you could get. So if you came from a poor family and you had a full scholarship and you were hungry at night, you still didn't have any money. So you couldn't order a pizza, you couldn't do anything. So schools go to unlimited meals. I remember my athletes at Monmouth celebrating because they're like, "Hooray, we have unlimited meals now." I'm like, "No, um, schools are allowed to have unlimited meals. You still have the same meal money at a track meet on Saturday." There are no more meals here on campus than there were last week. Sorry. So it's the same thing with the NIL money. If you didn't have the money before, you don't have the money now. So
Exactly.
so I think that's the difference, and that's why it's so different, and that in the landscape has changed, where it's so different at a higher level D1 school than it is for a mid-major or for everybody else in the world. Because night and day.
A lot of this isn't even the actual school. It's all boosters or
no, it's the
alumni and
it's the schools. They're the one you see it that the school is offering an NIL deal to XY kid.
Yeah,
it's the school, it's the ADs now, it's the coaches, because the boosters don't have to be the shady ones anymore. We're not hearing about Reggie Bush getting things from boosters. You know what I mean? Like, it was always going on. Now the schools could do it out in the open. And it's
crazy.
So Coach, when you saw this, did you see that there were like zero guardrails on how it could be done and that it was going to become this Wild West that it's become?
I think that as things were evolving and you saw the legislation come out, you knew that things were going wild a little bit when they had to do, you would see new interps of rules and new guidelines coming out almost every other week, because people were, schools are competitive. So people are all looking for an angle, and they're pushing the envelope. If you have the resources, you're going to push the envelope. And they're like, "Well, what about this?
That's a nice way
Can
of
we give
saying
them a car and
you're so diplomatic
and a boat?" Yeah. It's sort of, these schools were like instantly finding ways to do a lot and saying, can we do this? And, the NCAA is trying to react and trying to stay on top of this. And it's like, can they get a car, a house, and a boat, or can they only get two of the three? Like, what's the deal? So I think that made it tough. And we're still, I think we went from, the pendulum has swung. Like, if you looked at 10 years ago, there were too many restrictions and the athletes were kind of at a disadvantage. And now, as that has gone the other way, now the athletes have all these opportunities, at least, some athletes in some sports. And now people are like, "Oh, we have to rein this in. This is kind of out of control." Like, yeah, do you think? So it hasn't changed the track world that much, except for the trickle down of that. And that's that schools are now, you're a mid-major school. You're trying to find a way to compete, right? So how do you find a way to compete? Well, you may not have any donors than you had in the past. So then you're trying to stretch your resources and decide what's important. And, the worry is, if your school doesn't feel like your sport's important, what's going to happen to your sport? Is it going to get the same resources, or is it going to get, cut, or, are they going to change some things that you have access to so that you can give those to the things that you decide are important?
Yep.
Now, something that I think that is kind of changing the landscape as well, and I think it could benefit those smaller schools, is roster limits. I mean, the fact that, you're only allowed a certain amount, like we saw, I think it was Washington State, who became a distance only school, that they only recruit distance runners now because they only have a certain amount of things. But that, and I also think all these standards have become so fast at these big time programs that I think that could push some of these like 412 kids, 415 kids down to the D2, the D3, and those mid-majors. So those might be things that might kind of help the landscape in some way. Do you think that roster limits and maybe these standards are always, because like you look at a school like Rutgers, it's like 410, to run them out. Like, do you think that maybe those things might be able to help some of those smaller programs still compete?
Yeah, I think I think the people who are in the hardest spot, and it's hard for me to say this out loud because this is where I spent most of my career, but the people who are in the hardest spot, I think, are the mid majors,
Sure.
the mid major D1
Oh, yeah.
programs,
Yes.
because you're still competing allegedly with the Power Four schools. You're trying to get to NCAs, right? You probably don't have more resources than you had 5 years ago, unless you're fortunate enough that your school sees the value of our sport. In fact, you may have less resources. And then on top of that, you can't take as many developmental kids because now you have a roster limit. So where are those guys?
Right.
Seth or a Blake is a good example. You know, could those guys have come home and gone to a D1 school? Sure. But was that what worked out for them? For whatever reason, I don't know the reason. I don't know their stories.
Right.
No, it worked out best for them to be at a D3 school. And that could be for lots of different reasons. But I think that there's going to be more people who their opportunity, let's say you're a 420 guy, almost every year that I was at Monmouth, would I take a 420 guy and welcome them on our team? Absolutely. If your roster limit is smaller and you already have 10 or 15 guys, can you take that 420 guy now? Maybe you can't.
Right.
Maybe you have to tell them we don't have a spot, and then maybe they have to go somewhere else. So I think that the mid majors, right in the current climate, could change next week. In the current climate, are I think they're in the toughest spot.
And I also agree with you. Oh, go ahead, Dave.
You mentioned it somewhat in your response. This year at the NCAA's for cross country, I think there was one American-born runner top 30, and I think the average age was like 26 years old. Like, do you think that we're allowing these people who are almost pro in other countries to come here and run at the? I mean, to me, you have to cap the age limit or something, because like the people who are getting hurt are those American-born runners, and they're also getting hurt because of all these high standards. Like you're pretty much telling the kid who runs like a 5 flat, you're done after high school. Like there is no spot for you to go anymore, except you go to like community college. So like, I feel like we're pushing out all those people who might be late bloomers who don't have those times, because there's no place for them to run, because we have so many older people coming in, and every school has these roster limits. So we're kind of pushing out those like kids who run 5 flat, who might have been able to go and latch on somewhere smaller school and just keep that dream alive for themselves. I feel like those kids are the ones who are just kind of being pushed out.
And I want to.
I think
go ahead.
They may not be being pushed out; they're just being pushed in a different direction. So it's like, all right, do you feel like you can compete at the D1? Because here's what it looks like now.
Right.
And it looks a little different than it did, because the schools with the resources, not just in football and basketball, but in every sport, are going to use every advantage.
Sure.
If it's within the rules to take a 28-year-old guy from wherever, whether they're, whoever, then schools are going to do it. So then you have to make that decision as a high schooler. Like, is that where I feel like I can make my mark, or is there a better opportunity for me at a different level? Whether that's a mid-major level or a D2 level or a D3 level.
And Coach Torchy, I see your comment.
I think that, I think it's yeah.
But go ahead, Joe.
So yeah.
So the one thing that I thought was interesting about what you said real quick about the mid-major, and I didn't think of that, because I completely agree with you, where obviously I went to Marist. Marist is a mid-major, very similar in the way to Monmouth, in the way organizationally things are run. And as a coach right now, you have to be pulling your hairs out with what standards you're putting out there, right? Because if your standards are too high, you're losing some of these kids to some of those other schools that are going to take them. But if they're too slow, now you're not competing in your conference because you have a roster limit, and you risk putting a kid that's slower in a relay in an event. So I just wanted to, that was something that I didn't think of. And it has to be so much harder, because there is a significantly larger number of mid-majors in the country than there are power schools. So, I mean, that is a really tough spot. So, you being a lifelong mid-major coach gives us such a different perspective on that. And I appreciate that. And real quick, Darren, I got your email. Thank you. And go ahead, Joe.
So I'll tell you one thing that I was always in favor of that um, not many are in favor of. I never wanted to put standards out on our website or tell a recruit, here's what you have to run to be on our team. I resisted that with everything that I could. And sometimes my staff disagreed with me too. They're like, we need standards. And my answer was, if somebody is interested in Monmouth or Marist or wherever you are, but for me, it was at Monmouth, we need to have a conversation with them.
Sure.
Period. Like if somebody says, I'm looking at Monmouth's one of the schools I'm looking at, then we as coaches should have a conversation with them for two reasons, at least, probably more than two. One is you don't know their story. So if you just look on paper and you're like, oh, you ran 427, that's not fast enough. Our standard's 421. Maybe they ran 427 once. Maybe they just they came from basketball and lacrosse and they ran the mile once. I don't know their story. So you don't know their story. So you don't know how they got there. So they could be very easily a diamond in the rough. And two, if you're at a private school, part of your job as a coach is to bring students to the school. So, because if there aren't students at your school, at a private school, then you don't have a job.
Right.
It's true.
So, and you look at schools that have private schools that have enrollment issues in New Jersey and beyond. So I would always say to my staff, if someone reaches out to us, we should have a conversation with them because you don't know what their story is. Maybe there's a role for them, even if they don't fit on our team. Maybe if you find out more about them, you're like, hey, we just don't have a spot for you, but maybe they want to be at Monmouth anyways, and maybe they want to be involved with your program. They want to be a manager. They want to be on the club team.
So
they
that's a
want
question
to
for
whatever.
you.
They work in sport information and they want to help promote your program. I don't know. But not having the conversation is just a disservice to that student, to that school, that coach. Not answer that call or not answer that email is just criminal, I think.
So you mentioned the club team.
And so we would always try to do as much as we could. And I understand why schools put standards on their website because you have to clear the deck a little bit. It's hard to answer every email and answer every phone call. It takes a long time. And I'm sure the bigger the school is, the more interest that they get, and everybody's got a story and wants to tell you why they could fit on the team and whatever. So it's easier to just draw the line and say, if you don't run 410, then we don't want to talk to you. But I always felt like, I don't want to do that. I want to have a conversation with this person and whatever. And you don't know, maybe it's, talking to, Dave, your high school coach, you don't know, maybe you don't answer that phone call or email. And then the next year that person has a real star. Well, guess what? That coach is not going to recommend that you even send that email the second year if you don't respond the first year.
It's true.
It's just kind of communicating and responding and, kind of being professional for the benefit of your program and for the benefit of your school and for the benefit of the sport, as corny as it sounds.
So you
rant over? Stop there.
Do you think that you're going to see more mid-majors using club teams? Like, I know you're coaching Monmouth's club team now. Do you think they're going to start using club teams? And if you're having a real kid that has potentially has feeders for maybe kids within the school that maybe they weren't able to pull on, but now you have that kid that just ran a 420 for a club team that's not, as, given the same type of resources and stuff like that. And a coach might be like, hey, can I give that kid some money? Like, do you think we're going to see mid-majors trying to use club teams in that way? Or is that still just not as productive as trying to get a transfer or things like that? And I'll lean into Coach Torch's question real quick, saying he would like to get your thoughts on the transfer portal and how it's affected high school recruiting. So you can kind of work both answers into that.
Yeah. I think that schools that are savvy can and will use club programs as a resource for them. I mean, we've had, I've been helping with or running the club program at Monmouth for 5 or 6 years now. We've had 5 people that have been with us on the club team that left us to go be a part of a Division I team. One at Monmouth, 2 at Ryder, 1 at Iona, 1 at Rowan. So we've had people do that where it's like, hey, maybe you're just not ready right now, but maybe you will be ready in a year.
It's like a little JUCO in on the club team type of thing.
Yeah. So that happens a little bit. Or sometimes people find out that the club program is perfect for them because they don't want to practice every day. They don't want to travel every weekend. So it makes it's the right environment for them. It's a little bit harder because club programs are never going to have the resources that a regular program does. They don't have a training table. They don't have an athletic trainer. They don't very often. I announced at a meet at VMI this winter, and the Virginia Tech club team was there, and they won the meet. Their men's team won the meet.
Wow.
Now, this is a Virginia Tech club team, and they beat a handful of, it was probably like a 10-team meet, but they ended up winning the meet. So I had to talk to these guys as a fellow club coach. I'm like, we don't have a coach. We just do this all. So I was super impressed that these guys did this student-run group, making their way to a Division I meet, traveling there on their own, probably just carpooling, and being competitive enough that they could score in a bunch of events and win the meet.
That's absolutely
so
amazing.
It's possible. And to Carl's question about the transfer portal, I do think it changes things a lot. I think the transfer portal changed. Transferring was always a potential issue. When somebody got good, would they think about going somewhere else? Of course they would, but it was tougher to move. Now it's very easy to move. And I think as a college coach, you're put in this funny position where you want to coach the way you want to coach. You want to do what you're going to do, but if you're being honest, you realize that you also have to recruit your own team. As funny as that sounds, if your team is not, if there's people on your team that are not happy for whatever reason, then they're much more apt to leave than they were in the past. So there's just more movement now than there was before. I'm not sure that's a good thing. I'm not sure, what if you end up at 3 different schools, like what sweatshirt do you wear after you graduate? Do you have to wear a different like who do you have so many loyalty to? It's just a different environment, but I do think it changes what's happening in college athletics because people are more apt to move, and I'm not sure moving is always a good thing. It's usually sometimes it's for a good reason. I'm friends with the basketball coaches at Monmouth, and sometimes they have to sit down with someone and say, hey, the best thing for you to do is take that opportunity. Like, we can give you X and they can give you $800,000, So how are you going to tell that student to leave? It's life-changing money for them, and it's, great opportunity for them. I think in a lot of cases, there's not those same resources and the dollars that you may get, or the, additional scholarship money you may get. It's not life-changing, and it may be athletically, may not be the best move for you.
So what would your response be? Because a lot of people's response is, well, coaches have been able to move at will forever, and now the athletes are finally able to do the same thing. So being a former coach, how would you kind of respond to that? Because, there have been a lot of kids that, you obviously didn't do this over at Monmouth. You were very dedicated to Monmouth, but you did retire, right? There were kids on that team that Joe recruited. And I mean, no one's probably knocking you for retiring. Your athletes understood, they're grown men and women. But there are a lot of coaches that do see, they build a program, cool, I got noticed by bigger program, go to bigger, or go to adjacent program. I'm not happy here. So what's your response to people when they're saying, well, the athletes finally have the ability to do the same thing the coaches have been doing for decades now?
Yeah. No, I think it's fair. I think that, and it was the case even when I was there. I think that sometimes schools would kind of get in your way, or try to slow you down or make things difficult for you to transfer. And if somebody came to us and they weren't happy, or they wanted to make a move for whatever reason, be closer to family, be with their girlfriend, they thought they were going to get a scholarship somewhere else, we would say, okay, we wish you the best. We would never get in somebody's way. So I do think students should have the opportunity to do whatever they want to do. I just think it's so easy to think that, it's the old cliche that the grass is greener, and very often it's not going to be, and their college experience is going to be changed forever because they weren't at that school for 4 years. It changed, and they thought it was going to be better, and they didn't. And here's one thing I'll tell you that I would tell somebody if they came to us and said, "Hey, coach, I think I want to make a move," we would have a discussion, and I would say to them, just if you're going to go look somewhere else, do everything you can to look under the rug and look at everything. Don't just go there because their dining hall's nicer or they have better uniforms than us or whatever. Like, look hard at what's going on in that program. And if everything you see is something that you like, then I wish you the best and go get them. But look hard at what's going on there. Like, if you've been in college for a year or two, you know a little bit more about the things you want and the things you need. And sometimes you don't realize, if you don't ask the right questions, that some of the things you want and need are where you are. And then you go somewhere else, you're like, oh, wait, I thought everybody had that. I'm like, no, not everybody does.
You've seen all of our cockroaches and our rats. Make sure theirs aren't bigger and nastier at that school.
You know what it is?
Right.
I think that I don't have a problem with it if it's a kid coming in as a freshman and their coach leaves, like they get recruited, they come in, coach leaves. Before they get there, they try out the school for 1 year, they don't like it. Or if the athlete goes and follows the coach that recruited them to wherever they go, because you already have a rapport with that coach. I don't know. It's crazy because there are a lot of coaches who go to a lot of places and are only there for like 1 or 2 years or 3 years. So it's hard to build a program when you have all this movement from either side.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do think you never know, I think that's hard if you're a student athlete and parents, you go in and you bond with a coach, and that's going to be a big part of their experience. And you never know who's going to stay and who's going to leave. I think that's one of those things that you can look at a little more. If you go somewhere and you see, all right, well, this coach has been coaching for 12 years and he's been at 6 different schools. Oh, right. What are the chances he's going to be here 4 years?
Exactly.
Where if you go somewhere and you're like, this person's been here a long time. And I had,
some research.
Parents ask me like, how long are you going to stay here or whatever the case was. But I think you can try to do some homework. And I don't think that in the quest for, I want what's, bigger and better and shinier, I don't think everybody's always asking the hard questions.
And I think that's something that we can maybe, and I know we've had Ryan Searle from the Preferred Recruit on the show, and I think he does a really nice job working with athletes and getting them to figure out how to market themselves. What questions should be asked? Where should I look? What should I consider? And he's very realistic with his athletes going, I will get you to a school, but we're going to be realistic about the schools that you should be looking at. Right. Like, and him being a former runner himself, and he does, like I said, I think Ryan does a great job, and we need more people like him and like you that would sit there and know what to ask. Right. I think could be so many good seminars. There you go, Joe. That could be your next job. Go travel around high school to high school, telling student athletes what the things they should be asking and how to market themselves, as well as force the school to sell themselves to you too, right? Because I've said that to a lot of our seniors that we talked to here, and some of the ones shared their recruiting things that went on with them and what they looked for, but if the school's not trying to sell themselves to you as well, especially if you're someone like the higher level ones we've had on, then why are you just going to go beg and go there, right? They should want you as much as you want them after you provide them with who you are, right? If you're a good fit, it works both ways a lot of times. Did you ever see it that way where you had athletes where you're like, I got to kind of sell Monmouth here because this one has options?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that, as much as we could, we tried to just say, here's what we are. And I remember saying to student athletes, like, if you want a school with 100,000 seat football stadium and, 20,000 people at a basketball game, that's not us. If that's what you're looking for, that's not us. If you want to be in a class with, 400 people because you want to sleep in the back and you don't want anybody to know if you're there or not, that's not us either. You're going to be in a class with 25 students. Your professors are going to know your name. I'm going to know your professors' names. It's going to be easy for us to know what you're up to, good, bad, or otherwise. And if that's not what you're looking for, then, maybe this is not a fit for you. So we would have those discussions, but we would tell them that, the good things that were the things that we did have. And I loved it when people asked us the hard questions, do you, whatever, how many meets a year do you fly to? Well, maybe one. If you want to get on a plane every week, that's not us either. Sorry. So I think that, yeah, we would definitely try to talk about the things that we were. And I think the hardest part is that, and you guys were there, we were all there at one point. You sort of think you know what you want when you're 18, but you really don't know very much
Nope.
at all. I was pretty sure I knew everything, and of course now I realize I knew nothing.
Same here.
Um, so you think you know what you want and you make your best guess, but maybe you went to the school because you like the ice cream in the dining hall, or some reason. I mean, honestly,
Sure.
people choose schools for a lot of funny reasons. I mean, and the football one was the one that always got to me, was like, well, I really go to school with big time football. I'm like, all right, so you're going to choose where you go to school the next 4 years because you're
Based on
going to get
someone
to
else.
go
A
to
lot
a
of people do
stadium
that.
5 Saturdays a year. And by the way, if you're a distance runner, you're not going to be in town for those Saturdays anyways. Is that how you're
Nope.
choosing a school? Go ahead, good luck. But
Yeah.
You know,
um,
eh,
you know,
yeah,
yeah,
there's a lot that goes into that. I mean, a selling point for Monmouth, I always imagine, was
The ocean.
you want to go take a quick ride to the beach and go study there on a nice warm night. Like that's a pretty good one. Or half of our runs, you run to the beach, you do a distance run on by the water, and you come back. Like that's a pretty good
Yeah.
selling point. But I mean,
yeah,
there is so much to that, and I like what you said. Where if this isn't for you, then you don't have to be here. And I think I said this, Dave, I said this the other day. Every 10 to 15 years, I feel like everyone looks back and goes, God, I was so dumb then. And it's like a vicious cycle. Every 10 to 15, you take a look back. You're like, God, I was an idiot 10 years ago. And I thought I knew that. And it's like, as you get older, you keep looking back and it's like, damn, I was dumb. Like it's just, I think how it is and the wisdom goes and all that. And we'll be doing this show 10 years from now and go, remember we were talking about the whole entire Rowan thing? God, Alex, you were an idiot. Like, we're just gonna be doing the vicious cycle and things. But there's so much perspective there. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about you, Coach, and I
Yes.
want to talk about how you've been filling your time because we talked that you are the club coach at Monmouth. You're the VP of Shore AC, but you also are now announcing a whole bunch. You're working meets. What aren't you doing in the track world right now is probably a better question for you, Coach. But how have you been filling your
yeah.
time in your space?
Yeah, no, it's been fun because I'm doing a bunch of things that obviously when you're a full-time college coach,
Sure.
you can't even think about doing. You're just managing your program and that's all you're doing. So it's been fun to do a lot of different things. Still being on campus is nice. I appreciate that I'm still welcome there, and I'll be there just a couple days a week with the club team, and we'll do some
They haven't
meets. And
locked the doors yet.
they haven't locked the doors yet. Most days, my car drives there automatically, and most days they let me into
Sure.
campus, so that's a good thing. And the Shore AC stuff has been fun because as you guys know, there are a ton of events. There's more than 2 dozen events that we do every year that we
So
host and put on for the community. Some of them are just kind of local events. Some of them are big events with athletes that come from all over the country.
Sure.
And seeing that grow, and as Dave mentioned, it's everything. It's youth athletes, it's open athletes who are post collegians, it's
yep.
masters athletes who are still traveling all over the country competing, who are inspiring in their very own way. So that's a lot of fun to be a part of. But I do, as I'm still at college meets a bunch of weekends, you realize that's like my second family. That's the people that I
Yeah.
spend most time with the last 30 years. So those are the people and the people you want to see, and so it's still fun to be a part of that college crowd too.
I think we need to get a dream announcing team because we've had Phil Grove on this show a whole bunch. God, what a great meet it would be to have you and Phil announcing like a Boston meet for Flow Track and
Yeah,
just you guys, honestly. And I think we do need more of this in track and field because everyone will talk about like obviously the sprints, you watch them, they're done. But I think people want to talk about like how do we make track meets a little more attractive. I think we need to make these broadcasts more like baseball broadcasts where baseball broadcast, it's a radio show with baseball happening. That is what a baseball broadcast is on the radio because, you listen, I'm a Yankees fan. I've been listening, for the longest time, it was
John
John and
Sterling.
Susie
Yep.
forever. Right. And it was those two just having a conversation about baseball, about the current batter that's up, about things they knew about the pitcher and things. And I think that would help the world of track and field because We just get people with a ton of knowledge and just talk about the event while it's on. Don't necessarily just like only key in, but just have a running conversation, especially during the 10K and things like that. You want to make it interesting, just have a conversation about it. And I think that we like try to fit our track and field coverage so much like the NFL, the NBA. Like we try and do it's like just make it more like baseball. That would be my ideal. Make it more like a baseball covered event. And I think that would go so much further.
Yeah. Yeah. We have, unfortunately, and it's obvious. I'm not saying anything you guys don't know. We haven't done a very good job marketing our sport. You know, the people that live in our little world, you know, we can talk about it all day. We can stay on a whatever and talk about the cool things that are happening. But when you're world, we'll have no idea what's happening. You know,
Not a clue.
and
Nope.
one of my I always talk about is the 1500. If we were to go somewhere and ask people about the 1500, I would guess that 9 out of 10 people in the general public couldn't tell you if it's longer or shorter than a 5K. They don't know what the 1500 is. Now we're all excited about the 1500.
They couldn't tell you if it's longer or shorter than a mile. They have no idea.
Right. Yeah. They don't know what's happening in our sport at all. And we're so good in our sport with the details that we will fight forever. You know, we've been fighting for, I don't know, 30 years about what the best lane is indoors and how we use the lanes indoors. Meanwhile, other sports are actually marketing themselves and getting people to come and watch. Mm-hmm. And we're still fighting about whether lane 5 is better than lane 6. So, you know, I think our attention to detail is admirable and also gets in the way of getting the rest of the general public to understand what in the world it is we're doing.
That's a great perspective.
So, that is. I also think that we should I think we should eliminate the 1500 for the most part. I think it should only be a mile. And that's like not even me joking. I think we need some more uniformity, right? Because does anybody like the 1500 record is probably really fast. I don't know it off the top of my head. I don't
326 flat.
That's great. But the mile record was what matters in that distance. It really is. Like we care about Hika Melgaruch and who's going to get his record. Honestly, if Yared Nuguse went and broke the 1500 meter record would be amazing, right? But is he going to break the mile record? That would be our question. Where if he broke the mile record, it wouldn't matter if he ever got that 1500 meter record. So for me, I think that would go a long way in our sport. If we start to normalize exactly what things are, like, listen, I'm okay with everything else being metric, but damn it, the mile counts. The American mile is what matters in terms of our middle distance more than anything. I would love to see Worlds get rid of the 15. I would love to see it all get rid of the 15 and the mile become, because then you have that premier marketing for that middle distance event that even a non-track person could sit there and they'll ask, like any runner, I run, unless I'm a sprinter, I run. Okay, what's your mile time? Everyone will ask that. And if you're a collegiate runner and you haven't ran a mile in 3 years because you're running 15s, you're going to go, well, I guess my 15 would convert to this. And they're like, what the hell are you even talking about? You got to take my 15 and add about 17 seconds. Like, who cares? Who cares? Yeah. Like, I really think that like a small change like that of you can run the 15s, but all the major events are miles. And that is the time that matters. Yeah. I think that making things into layman terms is where, like you said, Coach, we need to get better about making things into layman terms. And I think Sebco, if you're watching, that would go a long way. The mile instead of the 15.
It's funny you say that, Alex, because probably 10 years ago, roughly, there were a number of years where I was on this committee and there was one person from each conference. And it was a Division I executive committee. So it was one person from every conference, 31 people in the room. And we talked about, you know, things happening in our sport that need to be changed, whatever. And then we would agree on, it was probably 10 or 12 years ago. And exactly that came up. And I was among the group that was all in favor of, what are we doing with the 1500? Like, let's just do the mile. And it got voted because there were a small group of coaches, mostly from schools, that were like, well, geez, well, what, you know, how are our people going to qualify for junior worlds? Or, you know, what if they go to the Olympics and they're not prepared because they haven't run the 1500? And I was like, oh my God, are we really having this conversation? Like, you're talking about, like,
to run
it was such a, like, it's such a narrow-minded view of like, well, what about my guy who might need to do that to get into this thing at their place? It wasn't a broad view of like, what do we do for our sport? It was like, gee, is this going to hurt my person in my program? I'm like, no, remember, we're here because we're talking about the sport. We're not talking about you and your program. And I just felt like it was such a missed opportunity where we could have said, hey, let's just do the mile outdoors. We do it indoors. There's a lot of internet. People understand what's happening. People get excited when a bunch of people break 4 minutes in the mile. The public kind of understands that. Like, why don't we do that outdoors? Well, no, they run the 1500 at the world level, so probably we should do that. I'm like, oh. This moment about whether lane 5 is better than lane 6 again. Like, we're not going anywhere here. Like,
so,
sure.
Joe,
how do you get people to pay attention? So,
right. So, quick, because I have a question, and this might be an easy answer. I just don't know it, and it's always baffled me. Why is the 1500 the metric mile and not the 1600? Like, why not just say we're going to run 4 laps? Like, I mean, it's close in times. It's like 7 meters different, but like, why did they go all the way down to the 15 and not say, let's just run 4 laps? Like, I don't understand why they went to the 15.
Yeah, well, it's funny. There's memes about that too that are like most races you can sort of explain to people. The 100 is just one time down. It's almost like going on the football field. The 200 is half a lap of a track. The 400 is 1 lap of a track. 800 is 2 laps of a track. Then the next thing we do is we go 3 3/4 laps. You're like, what are you doing? What?
We start at the 100 meters
for. There's history. Yeah. We start over here, but we finish over there. Yeah. Just think about that. If you're not a track person, go to your local tavern and try to explain that to somebody.
Right, because think about it, like when every kid in high school knew someone who ran the mile or the 1600, so like they at least have some sort of reference. When you start talking to the layman about 1500, they're like, "What are you talking about?" They have no idea.
Yeah, they're gone. Even if you got their attention to listen to your track story, and you start talking about that, they're gone. You lost them.
Well, like I said, when you're talking to a middle distance person, no one wants to hear your 1500 meter time. They want to hear your mile, or your half mile, because and around the world that's understood. Because again, even Europeans, they're happy to run a fast 15, but they want to. The goal is to break a 4-minute mile. It's not to run a 3:40, 3:15. Okay, like nobody cares. Like, go run a 4-minute, sub 4-minute mile, whatever it would be conversion wise, right?
There is no there's no all-time equivalent sub 4 list for the 1500. It does not exist. It's all breaking the 4-minute mile,
whatever it is, or whatever. If you're sub 3:45, you're pretty fast. Like, cool, great, nobody cares. But Coach, as always, it's great having you on. You are involved in so much. I want you to talk about what you're doing with a few of our past guests over there with the Monmouth Mile with Craig Siegel, Travis Mahoney. What's going on over there? That's going on again. Run the Night, opening up XC. Talk about some of the events that you are going to be involved in, and any of the big Shore AC ones you want to talk about before we jump out of here.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. So the Shore AC things start soon. Our first race is in a couple weeks. It's the Captain's Inn race, which, like some of the Shore AC races, has been around a long time. This will be year 63, I think, for the Captain's Inn race. So it's one of the oldest in New Jersey.
Wow.
Kicks off our year. And then I'm excited that the international meet, it used to be the New Jersey International meet. Before that, you guys know, was the Bob Brogy meet when it started at Homedale High School. Now the Elliott Denman New Jersey International.
Love it.
So, and that's at Monmouth, and that'll be this summer. I really enjoy that one because it's a chance for everybody. So there's youth events, there's open events, there's masters events. Then there's also some prize money and some elites that come in. So like Emily McKay, who ran at Binghamton, she won the 1500. We ran the 1500, not the mile, at the request of some coaches and agents. She won that.
Can you say no this time?
Yeah. So, it's neat to have some people like that, some pros that are on their way up. Ajay Wilson ran last year. So that's in July 10th. And then I've had a blast the last couple of years working with Travis and Craig with the Monmouth Mile. That'll be August 27th this year.
Yeah.
Back at CBA. There's exciting
Beautiful
news
place.
coming about that one soon that I can't tell you just yet, but
that's
big
okay.
news coming with Monmouth soon. And then Run the Night was new last year. I think that you guys were there. It's been an
Dave, I think
idea
you were
that
there.
Craig and Travis for a
So
few
cool.
years,
It's awesome.
and we were so glad to be able to pull it off last year with the help of Manalapan and have a night cross country race, here at the shore. So it was a lot of fun. So that'll be back this year too.
So
lots more.
I do
I can
want
talk
to.
about it for another hour, but I won't do that to you.
I do want to give a shout out to one of our former guests, Diane D'Oliveira, and the Bella Mile is back over at
Yeah.
CBA June 6th. If you
Yep.
haven't signed up yet, if you just go, if you follow the Bella in Motion page on either Instagram or you'll see the flyer up there. You scan to register. Another awesome event right up there. The Bellas do awesome stuff.
Yep.
Diane does amazing stuff over there. I know you obviously know Diane. You guys are in the same running community over there. She does really cool stuff. So I had to give them a shout out.
Yeah. There's a I think it's coming back this year. Started last year and it's coming back. USATF New Jersey is doing this Maniacs for Miles series. And there's 5 or 6 races. Some are road miles, like the Big Bang Mile, which is a shore AC event. Some are track miles that you can do kind of in the spring, summer, fall, and kind of get points at different ones through the year, and they have some prizes for that too. So it's kind of a neat way to and those events very often, like the Bella Mile and Monmouth Mile, there's opportunities for anybody. There's a 10-minute mile heat. So it's not like it's just you have to be a superstar to come run. It's a chance for anybody to come run, to come out with your family and run and do something yourself, and then see some elite people that will probably be in some heats coming after you. So,
as long as there's an ambulance available, I might go.
we will have an ambulance. I bet you won't need one. You'd be just fine.
People would walk off the track before I got done. They'd be like, he knows it's not a marathon, right? He needs to run faster. But anyway, Coach Joe, it is always a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for coming on, brother.
Sure. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Dave. It's always great to chat with you. Could chat with you all night, and appreciate what you guys do. So thank you.
So once again, he is Joe Compagni. If you want to find him, just go to any meet in the greater Northeastern area, and there's a chance you will find him announcing, running around, helping, talking to anyone, doing something. He's fantastic. So everyone, make sure go follow Coach over on his Instagram at Compagni1, and you'll see all of his escapades and anything he's promoting. He is, as we are trying to do here on this show, promote the sport, be ambassadors. Coach has been one of the best ambassadors for the sport for decades upon decades. Yep. The growth in New Jersey running definitely has a contribution to what, especially in our shore conference, to what you were able to build at Monmouth and have a bunch of kids in the shore see that they could go to their hometown school and still do things nationally is so freaking cool. So we appreciate you. Go follow Shore AC at Shore AC basically everywhere. You could just find them, Shore Athletic Club, if you're going on Facebook. And you can find us at Talking in Ovals everywhere. And make sure you smash the like button, subscribe wherever you are watching from. But we will be back next week. And next week we have some more returning guests. And we're going to have some fun doing that, right, Dave? We're gonna have
yes, we are. Always.
So everyone, I appreciate you all for watching. Thank you oh so very much. Bye.